Hi, this is Patrick Rogers with the Exitable Business Podcast, and I am here with Phil Fraser today. And Phil successfully founded, ran, and subsequently sold a multi-award winning online gaming affiliate business for over $10 million, 10 million pounds. We're going to dig into that today. And Phil is now a business sounding board and helps business owners scale, grow, and sell as an advisor. Phil, welcome to the show.
Hi, Patrick. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you bet, man. Awesome. Well, hey, so, I gave just a little bit of a smidget about your background. If you could, give the audience a little bit more about who Phil is and a little bit about your journey.
Okay, so I spent 10, 12 years in the advertising industry, selling advertising space and working in an ad agency. I ended up turn of the millennium, 2000, working for a UK sports betting company and launched their first online casino.
Yeah.
And then out of the back of that came what I thought was a brilliant business idea, which I was going to go out, get funding, sort of like Shark Tank, like you have in the US.
Yeah.
We call it Dragon's Den here, but in real life, go out, get the funding and launch what would have been the UK's first pay-to-play online bingo site.
Okay.
And we got zero interest, absolutely nothing. But out of the back of that fell another business idea, and that's what became the business.
Wow, I love that. It's kind of amazing what we think we know, and I find it so many times with clients, right? Oh, I've got this great idea. They go to market with it. Nobody cares about it. So instead of doing market research, and but you guys stumbled upon something amazing.
We did. So what we'd done, and in fact, it was part of our market research. Bearing in mind, we're in the UK. In the US, there were about a dozen pay-to-play online bingo sites. And I'd put together a website, very, very basic website, which listed all the US bingo sites. But on it, I put a very simple pop-up questionnaire to find out all about the players, how much they spent, how regularly they played, age, demographics, all that sort of thing.
Everything.
So that when I did my pitch, I sounded like I knew all about the market.
Right.
And as I say, that pitch didn't work. Nobody funded us for any money. However, what happened was a number of the sites that were listed on our website came to us and said, "Oh, we'll come across your website. Can we advertise on your website?" Now, as I mentioned, my background was selling advertising, in print magazines. So I thought, let's give that a go, and that's what became the business. So we ended up, the easiest comparison is to say we were the trip advisor for online bingo in the US and then eventually in the UK.
Wow. Dang. And how fast did that get wheels and grow?
Well, the great thing about it was we'd stumbled on a growth market. And I advise businesses now, but if you find a business in a growth market, the fact that the market is growing is going to help your business inevitably anyway. So the US market expanded hugely for the next 5 years. And we rode that roller coaster and grew with it. And, as new sites arrived, we added them on our website and they then wanted to advertise on our website. So our client base was growing. And our opportunities were growing and the number of players were growing. So it all sort of snowballed and really hockey stick. So it took a couple of years before, it was only myself, my wife, and a couple of freelancers originally. It was 2 or 3 years before we thought, oh, actually, we might, this might be a proper grown-up business.
Yeah. Wow. So obviously, we talk about how to sometimes some of the best strategies on how to grow your company are not the standard, marketing methods. And you kind of hinted to it. Tell me a little bit more. It almost sounded like you had other websites being advertised on your website. So was it like a joint venture partnership? Were you kind of growing by exposing yourself to other people's audiences?
So we were in the early days, we were based in the UK. The bingo sites that were focused on the US were based offshore. So they were in places like Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Dutch Antilles, places like that. And the market was a little bit Wild West. So we sort of, from a safety, sort of protect ourselves point of view, we initially ran on the business basis of, you send us the money, and when the money arrives, we'll run the ad. So that was our safety ploy. As the industry grew over the next 10, 15 years, affiliate marketing became more prevalent and there was more trust in the market. So therefore we could go down the route in the majority, it grew and grew and grew, but in a lot of cases was, we'll run your ad for free, but you give us a share of the money every player we send you loses on a lifetime basis. Okay, so if you're playing bingo, let's say you're playing bingo once a month. Oh, sorry, you're playing every month, you spend $50. Okay, we would take a slice of that, maybe 20%, 25%. So we get $12.50. Okay, for every 50 you spend. You know, you then multiply that by obviously lots of players, and then you multiply that by lots of sites. You can see how quickly.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh.
Your monthly recurring revenue sort of goes up, as well as we were still running the advertising model as well. So we ran two models at the same time.
Got it. And it's funny because there's so many business owners out there that we see that, you know, they have their main business, right? Like it'd be you doing just advertising and that's it. And then by bringing in this affiliate concept, you're just multiplying your business. There was a gal I was just speaking with just a couple of days ago, on Friday actually, and she had a blog, and she had just been making money literally from advertising, and she wasn't doing any affiliate marketing, yet she had a list of over 10,000 people. And so, you know, she had this gold mine sitting there. And so it's an interesting, I think it's an interesting thing you bring up, because so many business owners, if they just understood a little bit more about that affiliate concept, they could take their core business and have a gold mine that they didn't even know about, sometimes triple, quadruple, even make 5 times what they're doing in their core business.
Yeah, I mean, we always had this sort of balancing act of, you know, we could sell, you know, this ad on this piece of real estate for $1,000, okay?
Right.
Or we can run it for free with, you know, an affiliate client. And, you know, over the next 2 or 3 years, it might make us $5,000.
Yeah.
Or it might make us nothing, because one of the dangers with affiliate marketing, you know, it's great when it works. The danger is when it doesn't work, is where you send somebody to somebody else's website, and you know, their sign-up process is really poor, or their cart checkout is really poor, or their navigation is really bad.
Experiences, whatever.
The experience is dreadful. So, you know, we often had this case where we would do, you talked about mailings, we had a database as well. And we'd send a mailing one week for a client and a mailing another week for the client. Same product, same database, you know, slightly different brand. One would, you know, send us lots of money, one would not send us any money. We've done the same thing. You know, we've sent our mailing to the database. So there are ups and downs to affiliate marketing. And then what happens is I always said to my team, you know, what we tend to do is we'd say, okay, I've always played safety first. So I say, okay, let's sell as much as we can. So let's get the money in. And then the spare space we've got, we'll do as affiliate. But we'll run the affiliate ads of the companies who sent us the biggest check last month, because we know they convert.
Smart, right? I mean,
well, it seems smart, but some people don't do it, you know. And what you would often find is, you know, once the market exploded, there were big brands, you know, you'd see them on TV, and they had land-based operations, and there'd be small brands who you'd never heard of, and it was a one-man band or a white label, and they would consistently send bigger checks to us. And you go, okay, you know, so some clients say, well,
follow
give you
the flow.
Yeah, some people say we'll give you 40% of revenue, and other people say we'll give you 20% of revenue. And actually, it doesn't matter, because it's how big the check is that arrives.
That's all that matters.
So we try and follow the money on the affiliate side of things.
Yeah, that's all gold. And we didn't even really talk about digging into that, but I think that's gold for anybody that has any kind of a business with a list and just not doing anything with it. So Phil, I'd love to transition a little bit and understand a little bit more about that story that you talked about, that accidental sale, of 10 million back in 2018. Talk us through that a little bit more.
Okay,
more about that story.
Yeah, one of the things startup business owners, as they grow, people get very attached to their business. It's my baby. I can't let it go, and all that sort of thing.
Oh, totally.
And for whatever reason, I was always in the camp of, you give me a big enough bag of money, I'll give you the keys.
Sure.
I'm cool with that.
Okay. You've been able to emotionally detach yourself from the business the whole time.
And by the time the sale came along, we had a very successful business. It was running very well. I had a small management team in place, and I'd remove myself from the day-to-day, which is, obviously one of the key things you need to do to sell a business. And over the years, we had various people come knocking on the door. Hey, Phil, we'd like to buy the business. We go, okay, sign an NDA, then let's talk turkey. And, I had a drawer full of signed NDAs, and, nothing ever came of it. So anyway, we were approached. And the other thing, and again, this is part of the learning that I think some of your listeners should be aware of. The market we were in, there was about half a dozen acquisitive businesses who were just buying up everybody. Mm-hmm. But it was very public what the multiples they were buying at was. Okay. So one of the things we were aware of is, if anybody comes knocking, we know what market multiples are. And I think anybody who's looking at selling a business, that's lesson number one, is you need to know where your price is based on the market. So somebody comes along and says, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but
no, you're fine. But I mean, I think it's great advice, because
somebody comes along and goes, hey, Patrick, I'll give you $1 million for your business.
Sure.
Okay. And yeah, depending on how big your business is, $1 million. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Yeah. But actually, you don't know if that's a really good price or a really bad price if you don't know what the market values, the market multiples are.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we were aware where our industry multiples were, because there were a number of deals going through. So we got a call, I think it was an email. We got an email from a guy. There were about half a dozen of these big acquisitive companies in the market who said, look, we're interested in buying, and we'll give you X. And I thought, oh, that's nice. That's a big enough number for me to give you the keys.
It was a nice multiple.
Yeah. It was good. Okay. It was good. So we went down. We're based in the north of England. We went down to London, had a meeting with them, and the X big number was, it had earnouts and it had caveats and it was part paper. It was quite a complicated deal. Yeah. So we just went, do you know what?
Too much.
It's not for us. But what I did was, I contacted, because we're in a fairly smallish industry. So I contacted it, in effect, all of the other acquisitive companies and said, look, we're not for sale, but we've been approached, and now might be a good time to talk. Yeah.
Smart.
So, yeah, sort of selling, but not selling.
Sure. Just putting some feelers out there. Relationships.
Yeah. So one of the companies came back to us and said, yeah, we're happy to talk. And we actually ended up agreeing a price. It was part loan note, part cash, and I was cool with that. Mm-hmm. And the week that we were due to sign the purchase agreement, one of the other guys came back and said, hey, we had that conversation a couple of weeks ago. We're interested. So I said, well, I'm a man of my word. I don't want to piss these guys off. We've
agreed. You already verbally agreed.
But if you want me to swap horses, you've got to move the dial. In terms of not only in terms of value and in terms of price, but also in terms of deal structure.
Terms, sure.
And the guy came back to me 48 hours and said, okay, this is the price I'm going to give you. This is the structure of the deal. He even said to me, look, do you want to stay in the business after sale, or do you want to just walk away? I said, fine, I'll walk away. You give me the cash. And actually, it was a really well-structured deal. It was We ended up with all our cash in 90 days after sale.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a gift horse right there.
We agreed the deal. I knew the guy. I've met him a few times. We agreed the deal by, I think it was a couple of emails and a couple of phone calls.
Yeah.
And then it went to the lawyers, and as lawyers do, then it took another 3 or 4 months to actually sign the bits of paper. Yeah. But that's how the deal came over. That's how the deal happened.
Sure. So what, looking back at it, and you sent me one of the articles that you wrote about how to prepare. It seems like you already had these things in place, but kind of walk us through, the nature of your company that made it so attractive to someone. I know you talked about removing yourself from the day-to-day operations. Obviously, that's very attractive. What are the other things that you think made your company so juicy?
I think obviously it was highly profitable, and that always helps. So it's always going to be useful. Yeah. It was not only profitable, but had a lot of recurring revenue.
Revenue, yes. One of the biggest things, right?
We talked about the affiliate marketing earlier. We actually had a number of clients who we'd stopped marketing on behalf of, but we're still getting revenue checks from them, from people we'd recruited, years ago.
Yeah, that passive money coming in.
Yeah, so it's profitable. It's recurring revenue. I think one of the major things I think that they looked at was we had created a brand in the market where there's a lot of Me Too product. So we had a very, very clear USP, which was we listed every single online bingo site there was in the UK.
Nobody else was doing that?
Well, what other people were doing were listing UK bingo sites they had affiliate deals with or marketing deals with, which, there is a commercial reason for doing that. But our USP was whatever bingo site you want to come and read a review, write a review, find out about, you will find it on our website. We might not actually make any money if you subsequently go and play at that website, but I'm happy to waylay that loss of maybe a little bit of money on that site to stick with our USP that you will find every bingo site here. So we had a very clear USP, but we'd also managed to create a brand within the sector. So we'd started doing an annual industry report.
Yeah. Okay.
We created an industry awards. So we were hosting an award ceremony for bingo sites in the sector.
So you're creating your own sphere, your own world. Wow. That's great.
And then we were the first UK sort of comparison website in our sector to advertise on TV.
Yeah.
So, again, it creates a brand. There were a number of sites doing exactly the same as us in our sector. There was us and a major number two, and then maybe 20 Me Too sites. But we stood out a mile from everybody else because we had the brand. And I think that was probably the thing for them that made us, if they hadn't bought us, they could have bought the number two brand or any of the other Me Too's. And some of the other people who were acquiring in the market bought the other Me Too's, but they didn't buy everything we had, which was more than just a website and some revenue.
No, that's fantastic, man. That's amazing. I love hearing that because those are some of the two pillars of preparing a business for maximum value, is getting a recurring revenue business model, which many do not. And that goes right along with that affiliate and how other people can add, but then also that unique selling proposition and differentiating yourself from the marketplace. Those are such cornerstone of maximizing your value.
Yeah. And I think, because we started very early, we were able, as a new website came on board, we go, right, we haven't got that one, put it on the list. We haven't got that one, put it on the list. It was like collecting football or baseball cards. We had to have every single card, because then we'd say, we've got everybody here. And like I say, in certain instances, we didn't make revenue from traffic we sent somewhere else, but that wasn't the issue.
Yeah. So now transition, Phil. I mean, you had this successful exit. Now transition. You're now a sounding board for business owners. Um, what are some of the biggest areas that you see business owners, founders, entrepreneurs who are preparing their business for sale, where they're going wrong?
Okay, so because we weren't technically for sale, we tripped over a number of errors that we made, and that's where my learning has come on. So, I think we've already talked about understanding the value in the marketplace.
Sure.
The second one is to make yourself as the founder redundant.
The replaceable owner.
So that when you sell, you can, like I say, you give them the keys, you walk away, and it still functions. And depending on the size of the business and depending on the industry sector, you need, however you define it, a management team. We had a fairly small team. We had a dozen in our team. I had a number 2 who was sort of chief operating officer, basically. So you could unplug me from the system.
Love it.
And it ran without me. So that's the second thing, is make yourself redundant. The third thing I think is understanding, and we fell foul of this one, is understanding market metrics. So how does the market measure a business? What sort of reports, what sort of analysis do they want? Because we never had any external funding, all the reporting or the internal reporting we did was for commercial benefit. So, look at this analysis or that analysis purely because that helped us as a business.
Right.
However, the market at large analyzed businesses slightly differently, and different types of stats that we didn't collate because we didn't need them. They were of no commercial value to us.
Yeah.
So when we were in the process of selling, they were saying, have you got this report and this report and that report? Whilst we had the raw data,
right,
we didn't have the report. So I had to, without telling any of the team, I had to go backwards and pull all this data together and create these reports. And I couldn't say to one of the guys, hey, could you give me that, a report from 2 years ago of an analysis that we don't do? Because they go, why do you want that? The only reason you would want that is if you're selling, and obviously you don't want to tell the team yourself.
They're like, hey,
so I think
something out there.
Whoa, red light.
All right, we don't want that, obviously.
Right? So being aware of the sort of reporting that acquirers would potentially be looking for, if you can get those in place sort of from day one, then there's no red flags when you go, hey, Dave, can you pull out that report?
Yeah.
Because we've always done that report. So that's another one.
Well, you might, before you go to the next one, you mind if I ask, for the business owners listening to this, how would you recommend that they, where do you look to find that information? Like, or to know what the market is looking for their industry, what metrics?
I think a lot of it is to do with what's out there publicly. There's we live in the internet age. There is tons and tons of information out there.
Yeah, you can get everything.
So it's up to you. And like I say, our sector was quite public in what people were buying and how they were buying and how they were valuing. So in your sector, you need to start digging and saying, okay, this type of report is what's expected, or that type of report.
Like, did you reach out to potential acquirers or companies that you think would be potential acquirers and ask them what they're looking for in an acquisition?
You can do it like that. It's, I sort of, since selling, I've learned quite a lot more about selling businesses than when I actually sold. Sure. And I was listening to a podcast recently, and the guy said, he already had in mind who he thought might acquire him. Like maybe 4 or 5 big businesses.
Sure.
And when they're really big businesses, they have somebody who is, responsible for acquisitions.
Oh yeah.
And he said, look, I'm going to contact this guy and go, look, in 3 or 4 years' time, we think you will buy us. What sort of things would you want to know and see?
Yep.
And
love it.
Your first instance might be, well, why would they tell you that? But actually, if you think about it, his job as acquiring VP or whatever his title is, he needs to know what's out in the market. He needs to make sure he's got the right data. So actually, it helps his job by telling potential acquisitions, look, and it might be size. So it might be, you've got to get to 10 million turnover before we look at you. but I'll want to know this data, and this data. You go, okay, well, we'll put those processes in place. And, when we get to 10 million turnover, I'll give you a call.
I love that, because it's a lot of people, when they look at acquisitions or getting acquired, they're thinking of it's like a us versus them. And acquisitions can be looked at as such a win-win situation, and they're really on your team. I mean, that's the best acquisitions, is when you can have that kind of relationship. They want to help you be a juicy acquisition for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if it's not in the public domain, go and find it. And it's usually out there somewhere. Even if it's companies on Wall Street, their annual reports, if they've done acquisitions, they will put in there what they paid and what the parameters were and what the metrics were. Right. And if you understand your market, you will, and trade magazines and trade Twitter accounts and blogs. Yeah. It's the information's out there. It's not. I don't think it's that hard to find.
Sure. And Phil, so I stopped you to go on to this one. Hopefully I didn't break your train of thought on the other things that we were talking about.
Yeah, I've completely forgotten what the other ones are.
Okay, well, that's okay. I feel like that was a great conversation, because that's
okay. Don't worry.
So many great gold nuggets here coming out. So
one other thing again, and this is sort of, this comes down to a bit of minutia, and they're sort of both intertwined. One was really stupid things like passwords and logins and accounts and things like that.
Yeah.
So, you hand over your business, and the guys who's buying it then said, okay, can you give me the login for the bank account, the software, the CRM system, the SEO, whatever it might be. Right. Now, as your company grows and as you sort of delegate to other people, your web guy has the login for the back end of the website.
Sure.
He's the only one who's got it, because he's the only one who needs it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, goes back to what I was saying. I can't go, hey, Rob, can you give me the login for all the back end stuff? Yeah. Why do you want that? Well, there's only one reason why you want that, is because you want to share it with somebody else. Again, we fell foul of this, because as companies grow, logins and accounts and all that stuff,
we all do it. Do it.
Just gets lost. So I had to, in some way, find a way of basically collating all these passwords to give to the vendor. So I hid it in a smoke screen of, I read this news piece over the weekend about cybersecurity, and we really should have all our passwords in one place. So could everybody log in here, put all the passwords in, so we know what they all are? So everyone goes, yeah, right, yeah, fair, yeah, great idea, yeah. So I've now got a Google Doc with all the passwords in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of it's I won't say it's funny, but that's brilliant. So it's an IT strategy for security. Yep. But also too, it's kind of like perception is reality. So when you show up with a potential owner and you've got all this stuff laid out and everything's organized, perception's reality. This is a world-class organization. They got their shit together. Yeah.
And following on from that, and this was specific to us because we were online business. Our acquirers wanted to see because our website was bespoke. So they wanted to see our raw code. So again, I had to find a login. I mean, I have a very, very basic understanding of HTML, really basic.
Yeah.
So I could look at it and go, well, I can't write that, but I know what that line of code says.
Sure.
So I had to, through nefarious means, find our backend login, and had to turn up on a Sunday morning into the office and log in while our acquirers logged in at the same time, so I could watch what they were doing, and basically so that sort of watch them looking at our code. And some of it is technical, and some of it is, well, this is a bespoke piece of code. What does that piece of code do? I don't know what that piece of code does, and anybody who's a coder understands that sometimes you can comment stuff. So you can write a little line above it says this bit of code makes this happen.
Sure.
And we had none of that because our coders just coded. And again, it's a hard one to get around, but it's part of building in processes before you get to the sale point, so that your code, in this instance, your code, or it might be any process within the company, is commented or is understood by somebody who isn't doing it. Now you can dress that in, well, Dave, you're not only going to be our web coder forever. We're going to need another guy or another guy. You need to start commenting things and almost writing it. And this is technical, but it could be in any process, writing a handbook so that other people understand how to do it. You can dress that in an HR thing. So we're going to get a number 2 for whatever process it is. But again, it's all about preparing for sale before you even consider sale. So putting those processes in place.
Fantastic.
And then the final one is more paper-based, is accounts. So it's things like supplier contracts, client contracts, your rental agreement, your finance agreement on the vehicles, all that paper stuff. Because again, as you grow, bits of paper get lost, and Dave, who's been a client of ours for 10 years, we charge him this. It's a verbal agreement because he was a mate of mine back in the day. Yeah. I hand that over to the acquirer and he goes, well, hang on, Dave's all right. He pays, this is how much he pays. Well, where is it? Where's it written down? What's stopping Dave walk away?
Yeah.
So it's supplier contracts, it's client contracts, it's HR staff contracts, and one of the things that's huge nowadays, obviously, is work from home.
Absolutely.
Now, if that's let's say you took some staff on 3, 4, 5 years ago, their contract won't have a work from home paragraph in it. So when you sell to the business and the acquirer goes, right, okay, I want everybody in the office 5 days a week. And Mary says, well, no, Phil used to say we could have Thursdays work from home. And they go, well, show me your contract.
Have some pissed off employees real quick.
So all these contractual things, and the bigger picture of those is making the purchase as watertight and risk-free as possible for the acquirer. Because what they don't want is clients to walk away, staff to walk away,
vendors,
clients saying, well, Phil always said he'd give us 90 days credit. You go, whoa, we work strictly on 30. Well, and then so all of that stuff is built into making sure all your paperwork is right.
And I love what you said, the word risk-free, and that's what they're looking at, right? I mean, how do we reduce, eliminate, or mitigate the risk of them being able to successfully transition and take over? Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, I was going to say I'm currently advising. It's not a client; it's actually a friend on a potential acquisition, and it's a very nice business that he's looking at. None of the work is contracted, but they've been with us for years. They won't change. He's like, whoa.
That's a risk. It's a risk. Yeah,
absolutely. But also, and again, what he's now talking to the seller about is, okay, I'm happy to pay, but I'll pay over 3 years based on whether the business stays or not. And that's great for a purchaser. But if you're in a position that you're selling,
that's a risk for you.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't mind getting, £1 million a year for 4 years. That's okay psychologically, but actually would 3.5 million on the nose tomorrow be better?
Yeah.
Because I've got a watertight business that just nobody can leave and nothing, we go back to recurring revenue, we go back all the systems are in place. And actually, when you wrap all of this together, when you're selling, you look like a tidier business because you've got all the passwords are here, all the logins are here, all the contracts are here, and then finally, sorry, so I'm going on and on and on here.
This is good stuff, man.
The last one is financial. Is chase up all your debtors and chase up all your creditors so that your books look really sweet.
Yeah.
So we make $10 million a year. That's great, but 5 million of it isn't in the bank. It's it's due.
Well, and what you're talking about creating is all these things is you're creating transferable value that can be transferred over. So Phil, awesome stuff. There's so many nuggets here. Let me ask, what would you say is the number one thing you would want the audience to walk away from today's show?
If you're thinking of selling, make yourself redundant.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, absolutely. The replaceable CEO and founder. Very cool. Phil, obviously so much information, so much knowledge and expertise, and you're out there being a sounding board and helping other businesses grow, sale, and scale and sell. Share with the audience how people could get a hold with you if they would like to reach out.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there pretty much every day. Or take a look at my website, which is philfraser.co.uk. That's .co.uk. Don't go to .com because the guy who owns .com, he owns a medieval costume company. So if you see sort of pictures of Robin Hood and that sort of thing, you're at the wrong place. You're at the wrong place.
All right, yeah,
so
cool.
.co.uk.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey, Phil, thanks for being on the show. Exitable podcast. Again, awesome episode. And, everybody really just hone in, and there's so many awesome nuggets are in here. And Phil, best of luck to you. Thanks again for being on the show, man.
And thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it.
All right. Talk soon.